Our next speaker has been involved, at least with me, in the environmental activist movement for the last 5 years. Peter Crockett will now talk to you about the state's expansion efforts regarding Maine's landfills, the danger to our waters, and the dangers to our way of life. Peter.
Good morning. Pleasure to be able to speak in front of you today. Peter Crockett. I've always felt proud to identify as a Mainer. I was born in Portland and grew up and went on to raise a family in South Portland, where I remained since 2005, when I found a piece of property in Argyle Township on the western shore of the Penobscot River. I remember from my youth my first trip to the dump when I was a kid in South Portland. The town dump was sited in an old quarry pond off Highland Avenue, where you drive downhill quite a bit before reaching the area where you dump your trash on the pile. In about 10 years' time at that same dump, you drove up quite a bit to get to one of the highest pieces of land in South Portland, which now offered a splendid view of Mount Washington. That was my first experience comprehending the amount of waste a society creates. In 2014, 9 years after I made my move to Argyle, I discovered the MRC had plans to build a 75-acre mega landfill with related sorting facility and an anaerobic digester in the midst of a 900-plus acre parcel of land, which is bordered by Birch Stream and the Penobscot River. Coincidentally enough, that site was also very near the spot where the proposed east-west corridor would cross the Penobscot River and intersect with Route 95. The MRC, or Municipal Review Committee's plan to place such a destructive bit of infrastructure in such an inappropriate location was bad enough. But the real kicker of the deal was that their location was less than 5 miles away from the existing Juniper Ridge landfill in West Old Town. Both of these sites lie less than 5 miles upstream from Penobscot Nation's reservation in the Indian Island, as well as the old shuttered Old Town dump, which lies directly on the shore of Pushaw Stream. The old dump had no apparent closure treatment whatsoever, other than capping and installing passive vents to allow methane and other landfill gases to transit directly to the open atmosphere. This remnant of earlier days waste technology is not more than 2 miles upstream of Indian Island, and is most likely still leaching toxins into the Penobscot River today, the same as it has for 24/7 since the dump's conception many, many years ago. Argyle's struggles with the MRC demonstrated that a small group of dedicated individuals who can get a large group of people to stand behind them when needed is indeed a truly formidable force for industry to confront. The DEP ruled that the MRC could continue with all of their plans, providing the single exception of not building the landfill itself in Argyle. A short time later, the MRC announced they would be putting their plans and would be abandoning any further development in Argyle Township. That first town meeting to coalesce the community in order to fight this threat was at the Happy Acres Hall in Alton, Maine. This was the first time I met Ed Spencer and another small group of dedicated individuals who have kept Juniper Ridge landfill in 2004. Ed is granted legal intervenor status through the legal process of permitting the landfill expansion. Ed Spencer and Sarah Lakeman from the NRDZ have presented LD 2017, a bill to preserve state landfill space, I recently read, just before I left this morning, that that bill was not able to find a sponsor in time to be in this year's legislation. Another key member of that group is Paul Schroeder, who has purchased Happy Acres Hall so that the people of that area have a place to gather in order to fight these kinds of destructive, unwanted developments. This group has worked tirelessly since 2003 to archive every bit of communication and announcement regarding the creation and transformation of the small special use landfill initially developed strictly to accommodate the local paper mills into the behemoth it has become today. These archives document how millions of dollars of taxpayer money was funneled to the mill owners in order to protect the jobs at the mill, just weeks before that mill was shut down. They document the manipulation of the laws in order to create a situation which provides more profit for landfilling out-of-state waste. What is now currently known as the Juniper Ridge landfill is owned by the state of Maine and operated by Casella, who won the privilege to operate this landfill through a no-bid contract from 2003. It appears the state allows Casella to operate their landfill with very little oversight, if any. There is documentation of rules being rewritten to suit the needs of industry, while those rewrites were never submitted back to the administrative body for approval. These rewrites remain from years ago and were never discovered until just recently at permit application meetings. This state-owned landfill is a resource that belongs to the people of the state of Maine. This is a precious resource which is being squandered by the operator to pad their bottom line at the expense of the Maine taxpayer. This precious resource is being filled at an alarming rate because the operator cannot make any money by conserving the resource. The faster they consume this space, the faster they rake in millions of dollars. It seems the waste management industry cannot be in both a position of environmental stewardship and a money-making entity under the capitalist model of business. This model of waste management creates a situation that financially rewards the very practices that we don't want to promote, while financially penalizing the only mindset that will protect our world and resources from premature and unnecessary decline. Maine towns and communities are charging a tipping fee in the vicinity of $70 a ton, while an out-of-state which is trucked into central Maine for disposal. When questioned about this discrepancy in tipping fees, a representative of the operator stated that the lower out-of-state contractor tipping fee is to allow the total cost of transportation and disposal fees to remain in the vicinity of $70 an hour, $70 a ton throughout the New England area. Pretty sure that means the Maine taxpayer is subsidizing general contractors throughout New England, both financially and by degrading our environment at an unacceptable rate. It is an absolute outrage that our resource is discounted to those who should have no part in it, while the operator claims they are running out of landfill capacity and will need to expand in order to keep the facility available for Maine's waste. It is estimated by some groups that as much as 80% of the total material which has been landfilled at this site was generated beyond the borders of the state of Maine. Its presence in this landfill is in direct violation of the state of Maine waste hierarchy. Where did I end up? It seems if the waste hierarchy is interpreted in a loose enough manner, they can pull a tractor-trailer truck full of out-of-state waste into their sorting facility in Lewiston, Maine, drop it with the out-of-state tractor, and pick it up with a tractor with a Maine registration. It is then considered a waste generated within the borders of the state of Maine, regardless of the fact that no sorting has been done to the load. It is now considered a Maine-generated waste and can be legally disposed of in our state-owned landfill to profit the operator at the expense of the Maine taxpayer. Juniper Ridge landfill creates more than 10 million gallons of toxic wastewater a year. That breaks down to about 4 or 5 9,000-gallon tank truck loads a day of leachate that is trucked from Juniper Ridge landfill to the now defunct Old Town Paper Mills wastewater treatment plant facility, where it receives the absolute minimum of treatment and testing before being discharged directly into the Penobscot River. There are many serious issues regarding the discharge of this leachate into the river. There is no testing or documentation for heavy metals, pharmaceutical drugs, or any other attempt to determine the level of toxicity of this waste stream before it enters the environment. It has come to light that 100,000 tons of waste is landfilled in Juniper Ridge a year, and it is categorized as recycled material because they say they use that in place of a tarp system. It has a dual purpose. It's used as a cover to keep the seagulls off and the stench in, supposedly, overnight. The LD2017, which did not find a sponsor in time to go in front of the administration board, acts to offer more realistic definitions to things like Maine waste. It also makes it harder for them to call landfilling recycling as far as definitions of these things. I really want to thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I am very proud to be surrounded by people of a like mind that are willing to get out in the nasty weather and drive here to meet each other and to stand up against these issues that we face. The past month or so has found our world in dire need of more people that think the way we do. Thank you.